Today I'm actually going to be talking about Immortals Fenyx Rising. Now, technically I played this game a while ago, I would say earlier this year, like January, February time frame. I did play recently just to capture the gameplay that you're seeing, but when I initially played through the game, I played on the PS5 upgrade version of this game, and this gameplay is actually PS4 gameplay. So, in my humble opinion, I don't think it looks nearly as bright and colorful as it did on the PS5, which isn't a big deal. It still looks good, and for the most part, it ran pretty smoothly. But I will say, when I was recording, the game actually just crashed on me. Now, I am running the base PS4, so I know it's the older one, and with games that have come out essentially this year, I've always been weary of whether they will actually work on my base PS4 or not. It seems as though that trend has continued initially with Cyberpunk, and now this may have just been a fluke, but I guess it's just something that I noticed, and apparently I don't have that much of a tolerance for games crashing, especially when my previous experience with the game has been super smooth. Anywho, so, as you may or may not know, Immortals Fenyx Rising is just kind of a hack and slash game. So you attack, parry, dodge, and rinse and repeat. That is essentially the whole game in a nutshell. Now, obviously, there's other stuff going on with the puzzles, with these dungeons, and just chests to find and all that kind of stuff, but the core gameplay is really just hack and slash with some additional puzzles, which I will talk about in a little bit. The story was interesting enough. It was probably the driving force for me to keep playing this game and play it all the way through. Now, I don't know a lot about Greek mythology. I actually just finished a book kind of doing a retelling of Greek mythology, and it was very interesting. It was a good book. It was called Mythos by Stephen Fry. Like him, liked the book, so I actually read the book after I finished playing the game, and from what I can tell, it seems to line up with how the game portrays the different characters in this game. Zeus's antics are perhaps toned down a little bit compared to the actual Greek stories, but it seems to be like the PG-13 even version of Zeus, and it's pretty good. He's just kind of in the game he's just kind of a playful dick most of the time, but long story short, story was fun, and the stories of Greek mythology, the characters, all seem to be in line as far as I can tell. Now, as per usual in any general Ubisoft game, there's a lot of stuff to collect. The one distinction that I will make in this case in particular is that everything that you collect actually has a purpose. Now, recently, perhaps the Assassin's Creed games, which is my favorite Ubisoft franchise, they've had a lot of collectibles, and each of them have their use, but like in Assassin's Creed Valhalla, the tattoos, while cool, didn't really serve any purpose outside of aesthetically looking cool. Everything in Immortals Fenyx Rising actually has a purpose, a useful purpose to them. So there are coins to collect that will grant you abilities. There are these gems to collect that will help you upgrade weapons and armor. There are these hearts that you can collect to help increase your health. So everything that you can collect in the game is useful in one way or another, and that even extends to the weapons and armor and skins that you can find throughout the game and hunt down as well. Specifically with the armor and weapons, their usefulness really just kind of varies, and it kind of depends on your, and I say this in air quotes, but play style. because everything has like a little bit of a, I guess, perk, if you want to call it, for each of these things. So a lot of things are oriented towards stealth, or if you wear a certain armor type, it'll give you an additional health bar, or an additional stamina bar. So everything has a purpose. Everything can be tuned to how you want to play the game. But just to kind of expand on that a little bit, I didn't really see how there was more than one playstyle, perhaps, because, and maybe it's just how I played, because I like to grind through and collect everything in an area before I move on to the next area. So with that being said, it seemed as though you could do every playstyle, at least eventually, but the way that I play the game, it didn't really seem to make a difference other than, cool, this little thing is a little easier now, or this aspect is a little easier now. So before I mentioned the puzzles and the dungeons, which are kind of just big puzzles, but you get more treasure or loot at the end, perhaps. I guess I can't quite make the distinction other than one's a dungeon and one's just a puzzle that you find in the world. And those were either clever or honestly just kind of tedious, and eventually it got a little repetitive for me. So in the beginning of the game, there were new puzzles that would crop up with like, oh yeah, how do I do this? Like, oh, that's cool, that's interesting, that's like, it gave you that little bit of an adrenaline rush, or just just some sort of chemical in your brain, I forget the name of it, that would make you just feel good that you like figured out how to do the puzzle in an effective, fast way. But then after a while you would see the puzzle over and over, and there were some variations on it, but then it just turned tedious, honestly, where it was like, oh, that puzzle again, so you just kind of look around, oh, I have to do that. And towards the end of the game, that became a bit much and too repetitive for my taste, but some of the puzzles, even in the beginning, were kind of tedious. I forget what kind of puzzle it's called. It might be like a star constellation puzzle. You have to hunt down these blue orbs. And long story short, some of the orbs were right nearby, some of them were cleverly hidden in a slightly remote location, but there was a couple of times for that puzzle specifically where I went way out of my way to go find this orb. It was just halfway across like the island that I was on, or wherever I was. It seemed a little extreme, but I get it, maybe that's just part of the whole process, but I mean, it seemed a little too much, and again, for when puzzles like that would show up, it would just be like, oh, so how tedious is this one going to be? Am I going to have to roam to the other side of the whole map to find this blue orb thing? But with those gripes out of the way, concerning the puzzle specifically, the next thing that I want to talk about is just kind of the game overall. Now, at one point in the game, I can't tell you exactly when, but it just became easy. Like, I was upgrading weapons, gaining all the abilities and all that stuff, and at some point the game itself just became too easy, to the point where it really just kind of turned into tedium, honestly. And it's just like, oh, I have to, like, these bad guys, not that they're going to overwhelm me, but they're just in the way of me just trying to get to my objective kind of thing. And it just turned into this tedious slog of like, oh, puzzle, oh, another puzzle, oh, bad guys in the way, oh, dialogue happening, that kind of thing. Even the final boss fight really wasn't all that hard. I just kind of like hung around and just kept attacking, and I would just either dodge most of his attacks or just be able to heal through the attacks that did land. But then to break it up and make the final boss fight even longer, Greek heroes would come in and quote-unquote assist me, where they would take off a chunk of his health and then just disappear, and then I would just continue fighting at his feet, dodging and healing when I needed to. And I wasn't ever under the impression that I was going to die in this final boss fight. So, with that being said, the game overall, while it was a lot of fun in the moment, it eventually turned to tedium, just kind of got a little easy. Overall, I would say I would get this game on sale, perhaps, is the best way to describe it, which I did. I don't remember exactly what I paid for it, and definitely based upon my experiences just with my base PS4 recording the gameplay, definitely get either the PS5 version or the PS4 that has the free upgrade to the PS5 version. It just seems to function and look a little better on the PS5, in my opinion. With that being said, I would love to hear from you down in the comments below. What did you think of the game? How did this help inform your decision about the game? Are you going to play it? What did you think about it if you did play it? Any comments, questions, anything like that, feel free to hit me up in the comment section down below. Also, I would love to have you hit that like button. It would really help me out, help the channel out. And if you liked this video enough, I would say consider subscribing and ringing that little bell. I'm trying to do a lot of different content. I'm doing shorts, I'm doing videos like this. I'm also trying to stream once a week. And so if you want to be a part of that, hit that subscribe button and do ring that little bell so you'll actually have a better chance of getting notified from YouTube that I'm doing whatever at the time. But with that being said, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.
I'm coming! How do I get in? If he fell into that vault, I'll save you! I promise!